Welcome back to Moose on the Loose, your source of uncorrupt media. My name is David. Today we're breaking down, we've got multiple little clips here from the Federal Cabinet Retreat, Ministers on Healthcare Affordability Issues from today. But this one, I'm going to break this down a little bit different. So in a previous video, maybe a week or two ago, I mentioned that I have a unique set of skills here to be one of these political commentators. So I used to be an artist, a lead artist at Microsoft and Electronic Arts. I used to be an accountant doing the trust fund accounting for my ex-wife's notary business, about $10 to $12 million in and out per month. So I've kind of got this weird mix of art and numbers. So it's like a lot of this stuff the government trying to slip past us, it's not slipping past me. And so on the art side of that, a lot of people don't realize it takes a long time to be a good artist, like a really, really good artist. And the great artists, they're very rare. It takes like at least 10 years to be a good artist, 10 years of hard work. It's basically, it might sound a little crazy. It takes longer to be a good artist than it is to be a doctor. This is the kind of thing people are doing from, childhood, like myself, you drawing. Like I spent just one evening one time spending 6 hours learning how to draw like a lion's nose and eye. It's kind of got this weird thing where it's got a pinch and then a roll off, and there's little ticks on the top there, the shape of the snout. Like there's just a lot of work to know what the shapes of everything are in this world. And the human body is among the most complicated, especially fingers. But one thing you learn as an artist is micro expressions and how to draw expressions, I was a 3D artist for a lot of it. I ended my career as a concept artist. You have to know how to, in that case, you have to know how to build them in 3D, the sculpted shape of things, as well as how they change based on the expression. If you're angry, if you're being kind of smug, if you're happy, if you're, crazy clown, like there's a lot of tiny little micro expressions in there. And one thing I've spent a lot of work on, which is also kind of related to dating, I was pretty slow when it came to the dating scene. I learned a lot about just human behavior when I tried to catch up in that scene, mixing that with my knowledge of being an artist. There's a lot here I can break down, but I'm going to go through multiple clips here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clips from this retreat, and I want to break down these liberal ministers' expressions, and I want to show you guys how to read these people's faces to know their confidence, if they're lying, if they're not lying, how they just that kind of thing. The first thing I'll just break down is every human being, unless you've been trained by like some sort of espionage or CIA or something, every human being gives off micro expressions. They're not even a tenth of a second. There's like a tenth of a second. Like they're tiny. But what it is say if somebody came to you and asked you like, oh, what do you think of my friend Sheila or John? And you really didn't like them. You would have a expression of whatever to say this person backstabbed you. And you're just trying to keep it chill. And you didn't want to say, I'm angry at that person. So maybe you might answer, oh yeah, they're all right. But really you're angry at them. That initial moment that person asks you that question, that the second it registers in your brain, an angry emotion will come out, but then your cognitive ability to restrain your true emotions and thought on it will contain it and undo it. So there's always this tiny little, if you were to make it super slow motion, someone would say, hey, what do you think of John? But it doesn't go it's not that much. It's just the starting bits. And so as an artist, you'll know, like I mentioned this, if someone is really happy and they smile, like the bottoms of your lids lift. If they don't lift, then you end up with like it looks like a creepy clown, like Psycho. But if you smile with your lids, and I'm trying to exaggerate, it's weird because you can't talk about it. You can't talk about it and then it's not natural. But you can see here, if I had my eyes open, creepy clown, happy David. So there's all these tiny micro expressions. It would take forever to go through all these little things. The main thing is just look for micro expressions, and then I'll break down some different behaviors that these guys do, because there's different tells on different one of these people. Chrystia Freeland gets backed into the corner by a bunch of these reporters, and they just totally mad dog her, and she is so easy to read. So first off, we got this guy, Mark Holland, grumpy bulldog guy.
Meeting with your FDA, so your counterparts in the United States about the FDA decision.
Okay, so right off they're asking him, FDA counterpart, some sort of thing. And we'll go through a bit of, I don't know if I'm going to let him speak the whole thing. This is 31 minutes. But you can see right away, what did he start doing? He's nodding as they're asking the question. Just look.
On Florida, do you think there's any scenario?
So this guy, I've gone through numerous of the footage of all these guys over the last couple months here. This guy, the nodding, he's basically saying, and I don't know if he knows he's doing this. A lot of people don't know all the stuff they're doing. He's saying, yeah, I know the answer to this question. Keep asking it. I like this. I'm feeling good about this. Keep asking, keep asking. I got the answer already.
Scenario in which Canadian medicine does in fact get exported to the United States?
Well, there's 100% a scenario under which Canadian medicine gets exported to the United States. It happens all the time. It's okay when it doesn't endanger our domestic drug supply.
So you can see here, hands in his pockets. He had an answer right away, confident. He doesn't need to bring his hands out to talk or anything like that. We'll get into that. People use hands to deflect, to divert, to protect. He's confident with his answer. Not a problem to answer this question. Let's go to the next one. Here he is again, further up on the video.
Are you talking at this meeting about how to get your message across more effectively to voters, whether that's on healthcare, whether that's on housing?
Notice here, are you worried about how to get your message across on housing? It's hard to hear at the start of it, but you can see hands are in the pockets. He's not nodding. He doesn't quite know what the question is. And you can see it's hard for this guy because he always looks like an angry bulldog, but he's a little bit more concerned. He's lacking confidence here.
Just generally speaking, because I wonder if you're fearful that maybe...
He's starting to nod. He thinks, I got an answer for this one. I'm not worried. His hands are not out of his pockets.
Attitudes are hardening when you look at the polls, that maybe people aren't tuning in.
Well, look, when things are difficult around the world.
So the hands come out of the pockets. So this is not an easy question. So he's got his hands out.
And you can look back at any other historical example. People who run around with slogans telling you how easy it is, all you got to do is snap your fingers and fix.
So look at this. Look at the hands, the fists, the palms to the audience. So let's just break down. So I'm a little bit cut off here, but I'll try to show you guys as best possible. When you talk to someone or someone's talking to you, it happens both ways. If your palms are facing the person, it usually means there's something closed off. You want to protect yourself, or there's a lack of openness. When your palms are open, it's like that saying you come in with open arms or whatever. That is an opening, that's like opening your heart, opening your defenses to the person. I don't know if this is I've heard this is kind of related to back in the days you would draw a sword and the back of your hand would always be towards the person. And if your hand is open, you no longer had that sword in your hand. I don't know if it's, whether it's a club back in the day or whatever it is, but that is, if you're someone's talking with either closed fists, which is even more of an extreme, now that openness, that safety, that welcomingness is closed, and there's back of palms. This guy really does not like this question, but you can tell by the way he responded to it. He's closed off. The hands came out because he was uncomfortable. He started nodding. He's like, yeah, I got an answer for this one. I just don't like this question.
Problems. Well, if that was so easy, tell me a country that's got it fixed on that basis. There's been many countries that have tried going to simple solutions and slogans. It's been a disaster, right?
So if you see how he answered the one just before this, where he's super calm and collected, hands in the pocket, yeah, no problem. This one, he's getting aggressive. And it just goes to show, it goes with his posture and his body and also his language.
There's one way forward, just as there are.
See, and he's protecting himself, hands are towards himself. This is not a 100% rule. The hands are always protected, then that means. But in general, just look at an entire speaking piece of someone in general and you'll get a sense.
Always has been, which is that we've got to do a lot of hard work and thinking and have complex conversations that are uncomfortable and be honest with each other about where we are. The world is in a period of enormous transition. There is enormous geopolitical uncertainty. One of the big problems that we have with costs is just the ability to move goods and services around the world with as much geopolitical uncertainty as there is. So pretending that there are simple solutions is dishonest. And so I believe in a tipping point. I believe if you have enough honest, hard conversations with people, when I was in Durham region knocking on...
This guy to talk about honesty in the Liberal Party. Come on, man. Anyways, we're going to move on to the next one here.
Prices. I mean, there was an entire plan before by one of your predecessors to tackle prices and if
So you can see right away he's nodding. He's already got this one queued up in his Rolodex. He's like, oh yeah, I got the answer to this one. He thinks he knows what the question is. Hands still in the pockets.
Industry level. Just abandon that entirely at this point?
No, not at all. In fact, when you look at bulk purchasing, we've been able to save consumers hundreds of millions of dollars in Canada alone. And because of that bulk purchasing, it's why Canada has such an advantageous position.
So with this one, you can see he's just super chill, hands in pockets. He's just kind of leaning into the mic a bit. He's not getting defensive. The other one, he was backing away a little bit, had the hands up, etc.
Vis-a-vis the United States. In fact, the United...
And see, once again, here we go. The palm is open, and he's reaching out with open arm. He is welcoming of this question. He knows the answer to it. He's not feeling threatened by it.
The United States is trying to take our drugs because we have better pricing. So we actually have done an enormous amount that has created an enviable position. That's why we're having the conversation that we're...
Something to note too is a lot of politicians, you can see he just did it there just before this moment here, but they learn to point like this with their thumb on the end of a, like this, like, I'm talking about you, because often they're not allowed to point, or in some situations, or pointing though is very accusatory, and it makes you look more like a predator. And if you do it like this, you point with the thumb on the end of this, basically there's an angle here like that to a tip. So you're still pointing, you're able to point at someone without being accusatory, and it kind of, it takes the edge off and makes you less like a predator. It makes you come across nicer, but you're still able to point at someone. Just take a look. All politicians basically point with this little closed palm thing. It's very weird, but that's what they do.
We're having to protect it, but much more can be done. And when I'm talking to industry about how we can work collaboratively,
so you can just see too the way he's just opening the hand, right? Opening the hand. I'm open to this. I am not threatened by your question.
To do that, I think some of it can be done in legislation. Some of it can be done through working with industry. But it's extremely important, I think, to look at ways, just as we have with childcare, how that reduces people's costs in a globe where prices are going up.
Okay, so we're going to go on the next one because he rambles a bunch more here.
I mean, I think the last one clearly didn't. Like, isn't this all arbitrary to a certain degree?
Well, sure. I mean, but look, the point here is to get it right.
So right away, this is so defensive, the whole thing. We're going to back up. So if you look at the start, his hands are, it's hard to tell what this is, but this is definitely could be a defensive thing. So we're going to back up just a bit to see what got him to go into that position.
So I watch the Conservatives whose sole preoccupation is political points and making YouTube videos that are, over the top partisan in nature and offering no solutions. And I have to say the NDP has been very constructive and that's really been the frame of our conversations around pharmacare. So I look forward to being able to say more. It's a bit frustrating for me.
So that's what I thought. He was basically talking about the Conservatives. He's trying to amp it up. And now look at this huge layer of protection. I don't like this topic, but I'm going to protect myself. And that's how he ends up in those clasped hands.
Because, there is, I would like to be able to say more, but we're still in a phase of negotiation.
So there's the clasped hands.
Mean anything? Does this new deadline mean anything? The last one clearly didn't. Like, isn't this?
Does this new deadline mean anything? The last one clearly didn't. So that's basically saying you guys failed. Now that look what the outburst he breaks into.
It's all arbitrary to a certain degree.
Look at the facial expression there. So there's a micro expression. This guy's pretty good at holding them. Let's just do it again. You're going to look at this eyebrow right here, and then obviously the mouth.
Does deadline mean anything? Does this new deadline mean anything? The last one clearly didn't. Like, isn't this all arbitrary?
Oh, there it is again. Let's just do it again. So you'll see his eyes flick down. When someone looks down, it's often because they feel threatened. They don't know. They feel like exposed, whether they're lying, whether they feel like they're a failure, or whatever it may be. And often when someone's lying, they'll put their hand on their face. And there's like that rule that the higher the hand goes up on the face, the bigger the lie. It really is kind of true, because psychologically you're trying to protect yourself, right? So if someone's really lying, they'll be, talking like this. And sometimes it's just a matter of, fidgeting or just touching the chin and stuff. Often it's the looking down and kind of looking around. So this guy's his micro expression is the looking down, then he pops it back up right away. Just look it again.
Does this new deadline mean anything? The last one clearly didn't. Like, isn't this all arbitrary?
You see that? Boom. So he's now like, oh crap. And this is when he breaks out to that rage.
Well, sure. I mean, but look, the point here is to get it right. You know, I mean, I'm not a clairvoyant. You know, I lack a crystal ball. I don't have a direct, I don't have a direct line to a psychic that is reliable. So what that means is that we have to take our best guess as to where that negotiation will end. And they're a different political party, right? I mean, they have completely different views on things. So it is a very complicated process to get to an agreement. So what we do is make a best guess based on the pace of our negotiations of where we think we can get to. Based on the conversations that I'm having, I think that date's reasonable.
Okay, let's go on to the next one here. Okay, so we've got Chrystia Freeland here, and this is some lady that works with her that I think actually does the numbers, because Chrystia Freeland doesn't know how to do any of the numbers, despite being the finance minister.
Clarify how many businesses have paid back CBA loans with their own money versus through refinancing through banks. Can we get that separated number rather than the global number?
Okay, so this question here, they want to know how many people have paid back the loans, their CBA loan. They're trying to get the exact number versus how many people have gone out and got extra financing. Chrystia Freeland doesn't give an answer. I'll show you here.
So I'm going to let our Minister for Small Business start with the reply, and then I'll follow in.
So she really didn't like that one to a point where she dishes it off. But if you watch this through, she doesn't give an answer. She tries to answer it, and then the reporters get her. But we'll get to it. I just want to show that initial expression again here. So Chrystia Freeland's easy to read. She basically tilts her head when she's feeling uncomfortable. When you're feeling really strong, sturdy, secure, honest, your posture is going to be upright. You're going to be like a 50-50. So when you're feeling insecure, if you're angry, if there's any sort of imbalance in emotion in your mind, it'll come out in your body often. That's why somebody says, if someone lies or whatever and someone has that reaction, they're like, really? Really? They only do that in that moment, right? It's not really something you do when you're super happy. Obviously, there's some cases, some people will, but in general, people want to keep that equilibrium, the 50-50. They're not going to have their posture change like that unless there's an extreme, and it's usually in a negative emotion. Chrystia Freeland does it all the time. When she doesn't like something, her head tilts right away.
Clarify how many businesses have paid back CBA loans.
So she had a micro expression right there. I wish the footage was higher res. Just watch the corner of her mouth. It does a little like that.
How many businesses have paid back CBA
right
loans?
Right there. You can see her cheek. When she gets the question, she doesn't like it. She steps back. Let's look. She leans back.
With her own money versus...
She's fiddling with her watch down here. You see it? Yeah, you guys can see it. She's fiddling with her watch, and then she diverts to her. She doesn't like this one at all.
Is through refinancing through banks. Can we get that separated number rather than the global number?
So I'm going to let our Minister for Small Business start with the reply, and then I'll follow in as desired. Richie, to you.
For sure. Thanks for the question. With that, I can answer that small businesses have been able to approximately, or we've estimated about 75% have been able to pay back.
How many of that was refinanced through banks? And how many of that paid back the loan themselves?
As soon as we were able to finalize some of those numbers, we'll be sure to be able to share.
This woman is stone cold. She's hard to read. She's very hard to read. But that is usually with a cultural thing. A lot of Asian cultures are raised to not have overly expressive emotions, so a lot harder to read.
That, including the breakdown between the two.
Okay, so you don't have it right now.
Not at this time, thank you.
And this woman has no accent, so I don't know if she's raised in whatever culture she's from. I can't even tell. Vietnamese, maybe? I don't know. But she doesn't have any tells, which is the case for some people.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Prime Minister, does your government have a delivery problem? Over the years, there's been a lot of money put on the table, K Infrastructure Bank, Housing Accelerator.
Oh, so Chrystia Freeland doesn't like this one. As soon as they said infrastructure bank, whatever, she started to lean back. You'll just go back a little bit there. Watch her posture.
Both K Infrastructure Bank, Housing Accelerator.
Fidgeting.
It's not always gone out the door.
Grabs the mic.
It's not always gone out the door. It's not always been tracked.
More fidgeting.
Do you have a delivery problem, and if so, how do you fix it?
Okay, well, let's talk about the Canada Growth Fund, which we announced in the
So she does this, announced in the... She's just trying to come up with an answer while she stalls.
2022 budget. And we already now have had the first major investment by the Canada Growth Fund, and then the first contract for difference delivered by the Canada Growth Fund, both of those this fall. That is really, really fast action. That is complicated. The Canada Growth Fund contract for difference.
She often does that is da da da. She does the head tilt thing, but she's doing it when she's lying. So it still follows my rule here.
That we announced an investment in Entropy in Calgary. That is the first contract for difference on a carbon price of its kind. It is up and...
So she's been trained to do this one. This is like I'm getting to the point. It makes you seem more confident when you talk like this, but it disguises your hands. It's a smart political thing. She's had training.
Running. It is happening in Canada. It is not happening anywhere else in the world. And let's talk about the Housing Accelerator Fund. Again, really, really complicated. And that is now up and running.
And that is now up and running. What do I say next? Stall.
We have deals. We are announcing.
You can see her fist here. Is it cut off? No, you guys can see her fist there. So she doesn't like talking about Housing Accelerator, but
every single week, a new deal with a new municipality. We've announced deals with the biggest cities across the country.
That's like talking like a barbarian, or if you had a something out of there that is sharp that I can't say the word of, that is not a happy way to talk. This would be if you were saying the Housing Accelerator Fund. It's da 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 da. Not the Housing Accelerator Fund.
And that is on track to deliver hundreds of thousands of homes for Canadians. And I actually misspoke on the Canada Growth Fund because that was actually first announced in the 2023 budget. And it is already delivering investments in Canada. That's a big deal. Et concernant le logement, pour le logement.
Okay, so she goes into French here.
Interest rates, as I understand from economists, them being up won't actually alleviate house prices.
Oh, she doesn't like that question. Not at all. Okay, so let's break this down and I'll let you guys watch it again. So her face, it's so weird. She lifts her brows, then she scrunches it. Sometimes she does a little quick smile. It's like when someone asks her a question and she doesn't know where it's going, it's like her face doesn't know where it's going. It just gives off all these weird signals. But watch her body here. She starts leaning back. She does not like it. She starts protecting herself. Just watch it again.
Interest rates, as I understand from economists.
So she's got the head tilt. She's got the frown face.
Them being up.
Lean back.
Won't actually alleviate house prices.
Now she's like tilting her shoulders this way. The head's going that
because
way.
It's a final shoot out for having house prices up. But they are contributing to house prices being even more unaffordable. Do you believe that having a high interest...
She looks like she's almost drunk. She just keeps like... What is she, in a disco?
rate environment is still necessary, given...
So necessary?
That in other areas of the economy we're seeing deflation?
We all absolutely recognize the challenge that high inflation has.
So there's that little pointy hand thing. So she doesn't like this question at all. That's why she took some time to really think about it to get some sort of answer in her head.
Posed for Canadians. And I think all of us in our professional capacities and just as human beings.
So you can see that she said all of us, and then she looked over there. That's a way to just like, I don't like this energy. I don't like your attention. You're asking me something I don't like. I'm going to deflect that energy over here, and I'm going to smile at that person just to compose myself a bit and come back. Here, I'll just show you again real quick.
All of us in our professional capacities and just as human beings are glad to see that inflation has come down from its peak of 8.1% to 3.4% in December.
I just want to note something there just because she's lying. The peak of 8.1% down to 3.4%. Inflation went down to 3.1% and it's going back up. So she's obviously, a big liar. So she wouldn't mention that. She's just saying, oh no, it just went down. That's it. It's not going back up now.
That is a relief for Canadians. It is really important. Our government has been and
it seems the bigger the lie, because she just told a lie and she knows it, the head is tilting. It's that equilibrium. The 50-50 is off. And the more she digs into the lie, it's like her head keeps turning more. She's so weird. She's one of the weirdest case studies, to be honest.
Is committed to supporting the Bank of Canada in the work of ensuring that inflation can come down so that interest rates can come down as well. Because we do recognize, as does every single Canadian, that high interest rates are a challenge. They're a challenge for a business looking to invest. They're a challenge.
We got a couple more clips. I know a lot of you can't stand her talking, so we'll get on to the next one.
I think all Canadians also recognize the challenge that high interest rates are posing. As inflation comes down, that is something that we want to support because we do see interest rates are posing a challenge for Canadians.
Sorry, okay, can you just, I didn't actually hear a clear answer on whether you.
So I didn't hear a clear answer. The person responding is not the journalist who asked the question. You can see she smiled afterwards and then she hid her smile. So a lot of people, when you smile, it's with like kind of like a weird like fake smile. It's you're trying to mask a negative emotion, whether it's anger, fear, frustration, whatever it may be. But she does it all the time. Little fake smile and then it wipes off right away.
You think that interest rates are one of the key drivers of housing unaffordability
There it is.
now?
One of Canada's fundamental strengths is the strength of our institutions. And actually, that has been recognized in the recent reports of ratings agencies that have reaffirmed our AAA rating.
So she takes a deep breath. She closes her eyes. She does not like this because the reporters start hounding her. Absolutely hounding her. Just watch again.
This is the third cabinet
So she's overwhelmed. That's what this is, a fake smile.
release in a row where you've said that affordability and housing prices.
You can see that smile was fake. There now she's got concerned face. Her head is tilted. She leaned back away from that mic again.
And inflation, I'm sure, are key topics.
She's getting further from it.
A year later, at least with 3 cabinet retreats, Canadians don't seem to be buying whatever message you're selling on it. Why are Canadians?
Ooh, there's a nice micro expression there. Look at her mouth. She's like I can't even do it. The part of her lip right there. Here, I'll just watch it. It quivers.
Canadians
Right there.
don't seem to be
Wait.
buying whatever message you're selling on it. Whatever message you're selling on it. Why are
There it is. She does
seem to be buying whatever message you're selling on?
There's that's what it is. It's I'm a scared. I don't like this question. Mommy, let me go home.
On it. Why are Canadians not believing that your government has the solutions?
Last question.
Fake smile. Fake smile.
You're right. This has been an incredibly challenging economic period. And it's one of the things we've spoken about. And I think all of us need to step back a little bit.
See, she doesn't like this. That's why her hand, everything's protecting. This has been a challenging part for Canadians.
And look at the economic roller coaster our country and all of us have been through since COVID first hit. This is now nearly 4 years ago, right? So COVID hit beginning of 2020, and we shut down our economy, really for the first time in world history. And we were thrown into the deepest recession since the Great Depression. Think back to our predictions then. Think back to the fears, legitimate fears we all had of deep economic scarring.
So this whole thing is like a lot of politicians, even Pierre Poilievre. You have a lot of points that they say. So once they get into the zone, they just do their thing. That's why you got to look for these micro expressions at the end of these, or more importantly, right as the question is asked, because that's when the honest reaction comes out you can't control.
The pain you would get from prolonged unemployment. That was shock number one. Then you had shock number two, which was the shock of the reopening of our economy. And we had all of the supply chain challenges in the world, because it wasn't only our economy being reopened, it was the global economy. And that was exacerbated by Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine.
Putin. She speaks fluent Russian, if you didn't know. We're going to go on. We don't need to hear her babble some more, but we'll just see the end of that question. Okay, so this one's interesting because they're speaking in French, and I want to do this because I don't know what they're saying. I don't speak French, but I can read the body language. So she points out this guy who's speaking French and just watch the body language. And I'm going to see if I can turn on the closed caption afterwards and then see what he says.
Hypothécaire, vous expliquez la situation.
Okay, so she, whatever this is, she doesn't like it. She's already gone to fidget with the microphone. The microphone, there was nothing wrong with it. It didn't need to move. She's got to get energy out of her body. She's like a cat. You know, if you scratch a cat, you know, pet it a bunch, it gets all zinged up and it has to go run and get the energy out. That's the same. It's the same sort of idea. She has this angst she has to get out, and she's also leaning away from the microphone.
La COVID,
She lifts it up and slams it down like she does not like this question.
en Ukraine, de long en large. Mais sur la solution, vous demandez quoi vous dites
Fixing the hair, fidgeting.
aux Canadiens, un peu de patience.
Look at the big lean back. Don't ask me this question, man. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Les hauts taux directeurs vont faire leur effet, puis l'inflation va diminuer, puis après les taux vont diminuer parce que on entend vos grandes explications qui sont intéressantes, mais à côté,
There's these fake smiles. They come and they go so quick.
il y a un chef du Parti conservateur qui dit on va
It's like,
congédier le président de la Banque du Canada, puis le problème va être réglé. Ça apparaît attrayant pour plusieurs Canadiens, cette solution-là, à l'heure actuelle.
she does that one a lot. It's, yeah, she's a weird character.
Alors, qu'est-ce que vous leur dites aux Canadiens pour contrer aussi le message conservateur?
So she's chilled out now. So what did this guy ask her is the question. Okay, so unfortunately, I can't get the captions to work on this because the video was just uploaded today. If someone speaks French, let us know what that last question was. I'd love to know. But whatever it is, it didn't. She was feeling uneasy about it. It's obvious. Her body language told me so. So hopefully that gives you guys a bit of an idea how to read these lying liberals' body language and just get a sense of how they really feel about a question. That does it for this one. Be sure to thumbs up the video, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you guys want to check out another video, I've got more Trudeau videos if you want. I have a hiking adventure channel, Mountain Stories. You're looking for something adventurous in the woods and a little bit more friendly and upbeat with some nice views. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you guys on the next one.